saw you dancing in a sunhead on Saturday evening. Summer in Austin. It's been 10 years since I saw her, but now can you figure it out? I'm talking too loud to see you around. Hearts on your own. You said you lived in New York. You were just visiting, so we were only visiting.
Welcome back to the Austin Public Library. I'm sitting down with John and Miguel, 2/3 of Migrant Kids. And thanks for doing this, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I like that you shot your Thread video in Laredo. And what is it about those places? Are they more maybe restful than being in a bigger like being on tour in a bigger city?
Laredo's a crazy place, man. I don't think that was any rest. Those people party very hard. It's a lawless place. We've almost been run over. We've been run off the road. I mean, it's like Mexico. Bullet holes in our hotel window. It's you talk about a rush, man. It feels, I think it's a really edgy place. A lot of people they'd never know that because they'd never go there. But no, I think the whole reason for Laredo was just simply put, I think John and I grew up, in the weird in between being like our parents were migrant workers, so you're half Mexican, but then you're also they worked really hard to assimilate us. We don't have accents, but we can speak Spanish, so it's just you're stuck between two worlds, and you're neither this nor the other. And yet you can play in both. And I felt like Laredo is like that a lot, because it's just stuck between Mexico and stuck between the U.S. And it's not one or the other. So it exists in this very confused state of, I think at times, myself personally, if you feel self-loathing towards your culture because you just want to fit in, and then other times you feel really proud and you wouldn't have it any other way. So I think that probably San Antonio is similar to that too. I think they experience a lot of that.
Miguel, I actually saw a quote from you that it made me laugh because it was very similar to something I had seen 2 Chainz say. And so here's a little Migrant Kids, 2 Chainz connection. You both said almost the exact same thing. It was really uncanny. Being on stage, you want to dress in a way so that you're just different or maybe stand out from the person in the audience. And what does that add to your performance or give to your performance? I mean, what kind of value does that bring?
That's cool that you made the reference to 2 Chainz. Honestly, I think right now, while it's a difficult time to be Black or Mexican or Hispanic, Latino in the United States, while it's a difficult time professionally, and I think with racial tension it's a difficult time to be that, it's a great time to be Black or Hispanic and an artist in the U.S. We can wear things and do things that most people can't, and say things that most people can't, and I think that it puts a lot of pressure on us. I think that's why you get guys like Kendrick Lamar. That's a lot of pressure on them and us, I think, because everything you do is considered a statement and considered, you're representing a big majority that's grown in the U.S. So, as far as like fashion, so given that freedom, you can make some mistakes. I've definitely worn too much jewelry on stage. Kind of cut that down a little bit. You're just trying things out. You're finding. I think the point is to elevate yourself. John's really great at the fashion aspect also. I don't know. Do you feel like it changes?
I definitely think it changes your performance. And I recently started having my girlfriend braid my hair into like French braids, and that for whatever reason changed my sort of energy on stage, I guess, because you sort of feel like you're standing out a little bit more. But it definitely has its roots in a lot of primal things to elevate yourself, I think.
And thinking of my own experiences watching bands, I think as an audience member, we want to feel like we're part of something or witnessing something special. And there is something special about seeing someone come out that just looks different than your normal everyday, what you're used to seeing. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think even down to how they're interacting with you, because whatever situation you're in, seeing a show, I think the idea is still rooted in that it's entertainment. You know, it's you're there to be entertained. You're there to escape whatever minutiae, mundane aspects of your life, to see something that could be a spectacle. And it irritates me to no end when bands are sort of apathetic on stage, and even if it's part of their shtick, like, you want them to feel grateful that you either maybe you spent money or even you spent your time to be there watching them, so you want some engagement from them. And I think when you're dressed a certain way and you are engaged and you realize you're appreciating time and money spent and kind of realizing your places, I think it makes for an escape that is unlike any other experience.
So getting back to your music, I had read that within a year time period, you guys were looking to release 4 EPs. What was your plan or strategy behind doing the 4 EPs over a year? And then what can you tell us about this one that you have coming soon?
In developing our sound and developing who we are, I think we're still doing that. I think that's tricky. People want you to come out and know what you are and who you are, and so I just said, rather than shroud it, let's show them the process of how a band grows. And that's something that I think in the 70s you saw a lot of, in the 60s you saw a lot of, and especially now in Spotify culture, you don't see that as much. It's very single based. So we said, well, let's just do shorter mini little EPs and show them that process.
Well, this is the Library Podcast, and when I walked up, in fact, John, you were reading a book.
I was.
I was happy to see that. So what do you guys read? What do you watch? You mentioned movies, albums. The library has all these things. What are the things that you guys are interested in, that you guys enjoy?
Well, the book I was reading is called Against Everything. It's by this. He's a professor at the New School in New York, and he was one of the curators of the N+1 magazine. The book is like about. It kind of says it in the title. Against Everything. It sort of like takes this approach of talking about things like exercise or sex or food, and he writes these very cerebral kind of philosophical essays on why, like, for example, exercise is kind of a bad thing, and how exercise has turned into this very strange, like, public thing when, it's sort of grounded in this very private sort of thing. And it's very, like, it's kind of like a pessimistic but very beautifully written and very interesting way of looking at things. And I tend to read more nonfiction. And when I was like, kind of a smart ass mid-20s, I was just like, there's no time for fiction because, like, it's not real and I want to just learn things and, like, actually. But then, later on I realized that was ridiculous and started getting more into fiction, and a lot of still creative nonfiction, but more lighthearted, like David Rakoff. And Miguel got me into David Sedaris, like, really early on, and I think that helped shaped a lot of my interest in books and stuff. But super into that kind of realm of writing. A lot of nonfiction science stuff, heady stuff, like stuff that you just don't want to take to a beach. You want to be, like, listening to, like, in some dark room. It's kind of what I'm into now.
I think the last time when we were driving back, we listened to in the car. We listened to Consider the Lobster David Foster Wallace. I really enjoyed that one. That was really well written. I probably have to sit there with a little like dictionary on hand to understand good majority of it, but it's good. It stretches you. And then there's a very special book that kind of saved our relationship, my cousin and myself, and that was David Rakoff's Half Empty. And John at one point said to me, you should read this. This is my Bible. This is what I live by. So this particular book was really special because our personality types are very different, our perspectives are very different, and I just couldn't understand where he was coming from. And this book, and I'm really bit into interviews also, so is he. So in documentaries, we're probably I think our top 4 things to talk about are documentaries, podcasts, interviews, and then maybe poop jokes. Yeah. So we that book, I'll summarize it. Just it essentially talks about his perspective on life and his approach to an interview like this. He would show up ridiculously early. Why? Because he just anticipates that all of this stuff is going to go wrong. And because he anticipates those things and shows up on time, absolutely nothing goes wrong, and he's fine. But if he didn't and took the gamble, the risk of showing up, 5 minutes before, something would happen. That's his life. That's his, in a nutshell. I mean, the book, it's obviously more entertaining than that, but that reading that allowed me to understand where he was coming from, and it was one of those moments in life where the book is the actual bridge between yourself and a new understanding, and a bridge between a relationship for me to understand, where he was coming from. It strengthened our friendship because of that, because then I knew, I get it now. But it's nice hearing it from someone else who, is a writer and can articulate it. So that was really cool.
The tagline of that book is like positive outcomes for positive outcomes from negative thinking.
So Migrant Kids, where can we find your music online, find show dates, tour stops, all that kind of thing?
Instagram, Facebook, our website, migrantkids.com, has our tour dates. We're going to be playing we're actually going to be on Good Morning Austin tomorrow, in anticipation for a release. Yeah, September 29th, we're going to be at Hard Luck Lounge for the early bird show. So I think that starts at 6. Yeah, Spotify and YouTube are probably the biggest ways to find us.
All right, thank you very much. That was Migrant Kids, John and Miguel. And thanks for taking your time to talk to the library. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Life is okay. This magic inside.